How they looking out there, Coach?
It's good. It's been really, really competitive. I think the thing that's very noticeable is the work that Coach McKnight and his staff have done. They're faster. They're more physical. I mean, it's good. And, you know, as you get later on, and I've always said this to you guys, like, you get into week 2, you kind of know what type of ball club you have, and we're still running around really good. So we got a scrimmage tomorrow. It'll be a big test for a whole bunch of guys to see if they can do it when all the coaches are away from them. They can communicate, make plays.
How you feeling corner right now?
Good. It's competitive. We got. I brought this up beforehand. You got, 4 or 5 guys in the mix, and as I told Jason the other day when we talked about personnel, I said nobody has given us any signs that they can't play at this level. So what we'll do is, obviously. We've got to challenge them, and we've got some great guys offensively to challenge them with it. So we're going to have to rotate some guys in there, and if they can go against Colin and be successful, then we feel they can play with anybody in the country.
So do you feel like tomorrow is a huge
absolutely.
barometer for all
It
this?
is.
Okay.
It's it's the one thing to be in practice, and things are in a little bit of controlled environment. We only played 2 segments where we just put the ball down, and Tim and I just called it. But when we get into a scrimmage where it's going to be 60 plays probably for each group, you're going to get a good barometer of who can do it without us being out there, and it's going to be huge. I mean, Coach Herman was just out in the field saying we got to treat tomorrow as a game day in every aspect, especially when you have some newer guys that are going to be out there.
Herman was talking about a third down sub package with 8 DBs.
Well, we're working on trying to get our best guys out there. So it's we're shuffling around some guys, seeing who's the pass rushers, and it kind of starts from there. And then finding out who's going to be our best guys in coverage on the second level. So
does that force you to cross-train more guys at nickel or joker?
Oh yeah. I mean, that's Craig has all those guys in his room, and I think they understand that. I've said this before: is we want to play the next best ball player. So we don't want to play necessarily on the depth chart the second boundary safety. If our second nickel's a better ball player, then learn how to play safety. So. And I think that's across the board, and our kids really have embraced that. So, but it's easier when everybody's in the same room so you can talk through it. So, at the end of the day, whoever we put out in that field is what we think are whether 2 best, whatever, or 3 best, whatever, in our club. So we have to cross-train to be able to do that.
Are you seeing Josh Thompson? Is he playing some safety? In addition to,
there's a couple guys that will stay away from, but Josh will get thrown in there once in a while, just so in case something was to happen. So when you get into fall camp, I think at first you want to rep the guys in the positions that you believe there, and as we get further along in camp, hopefully we stay healthy. But you always want to get into about week 3 where you start really, really cross-training guys, so you don't have to do it during the season, and you don't have to make scramble moves and say, okay, what do we do? Game 4, our starter, this got hurt. Now we got only 2 practice days to get him right. So this is the time to do that.
What does Caden have to do to make the next step?
Well, I think just continue being a pro. I mean, he's still a young guy. There's still a lot of things. You guys, when probably you were young reporters, in comparison to when you get a little bit older, there's a lot of things that you do different now. So, get with Brandon Jones, know how those older guys prepare, be really efficient. But to me, it's just playing loose and free. I think that's when he's at his best, is when he's not out there thinking and can just hunt the ball up. And it's going to take some time for him to just learn how to do that consistently. And he's got the talent, there's no doubt about it. But sometimes it just takes a little bit of time for him to learn. But he's got a great group to learn from.
You have any elite pass rushers?
Well, we'll find out. I mean, to me, it's, you would expect Malcolm Roach and TQ and Joe Asai. So we've got some people that can rush the quarterback, and whether or not they can put it all together in a game situation, we'll see. Once again, this doesn't go down to whether Malcolm Roach is talented. Now Malcolm Roach puts himself in a situation, instead of playing maybe 30 plays, he might play 55, 60 plays. So that's what we got to find out, whether Mal can continue to press the gas, on play 48 or 49, the same way he did in play 5. So that, to me, that's the challenge when you're you get this perception that a lot of these guys are going to be new. They've played, they've played, but how much have they played? And it's different, If you're Joe Asai getting in for 15 reps in comparison to maybe going 65, 70, it's a different ball game. So that's what we got to learn, and we got to find out whether those guys can do it. And then we got to be able to shuffle guys in if they can't give us, you know, what we need to win.
And is it time for Malcolm and Jeffrey in particular to
Yeah, absolutely.
break out?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, to me, those guys know every pass rush. They know how to set guys up. And you get to this point in your career, and you kind of look around, and you know you're the guy. Then become the guy. You know, maybe last year it was see Charles a little bit, maybe Breck a little bit. And you sit there and go, this is kind of my role. But I think Malcolm, especially to me, understands how valuable he's going to be in terms of making plays up front.
Coach, on the flip side, on the offensive side, who are the guys on offense that give your defense fits all the time?
Well, I think the receivers, Colin, the two running backs have been really good. I mean, Sam's a stud. Sammy, in terms of diagnosing the stuff that we do, getting our guys into proper calls, he's as good as any quarterback I've seen. And, he's been an outstanding leader, him and Shaq. To me, I mean, they are the backbone of this team. I don't care that they're on offense and, we're working on our defensive side. Those two guys have been unbelievable this camp of competing against us. And, we want to win. It's an offensive defensive deal. They want to win on offense. We want to win on defense. But when that drill's over with, they've been two great leaders for us, rallying guys together. They've done an exceptional job of that.
Todd, going back to what Chip asked, is it possible that when you rank all your guys,
Yeah.
it's going to be tilted far more toward the DBs in terms of ranking your top 15, 16, 20 guys?
Well,
And they
I
have
know
to-
where
they
you guys.
formulate a
Look,
scheme.
here, let me answer. Let me say this, okay? I know you guys where you're getting with this, okay? At the end of the day, based on what we're playing, okay? So you got to think like long-term personnels that offense is running.
Right.
If you can make a play and you can run, we'll find a home for you on the field.
Okay.
If we lose too much mass, like if we're getting knocked around and things like that, then we won't sacrifice that. But if you give us somebody that has to play in space outside the core of the formation, outside of guards and tackles and all that stuff, if you're a playmaker and you're really, really fast, we'll find you at home.
How would you grade how you have a lot of first-year linebackers in your
Yeah.
how would you grade how they've adjusted so far?
Well, they've been better. I think they've made huge strides since the spring. I think Yancey, again, has done a great job. Like Deli's a guy that comes to mind where, the spring was trying to learn, try to figure things out. But we can see a lot of those guys that took the time and effort to understand what their deficiencies were athletically, but also to take the time and effort to put their nose in that playbook. So it's noticeably different. So we've got a competitive group right now. I think when you're talking about Jeff and Joe, I think there's some establishment there. They're not elite right now, but we're working that way, and they're guys that we don't have to tell everything about every play. And then you have those group of guys like Deli, like Tillman, like Caleb Johnson, those type of guys that we're work in progress. But they've shown flashes of being able to do it, and their comprehension is pretty good. So I just think what we need is just a little bit more time to get them fundamentally. Like tomorrow's going to be huge. It's like, can you go out there without us being there? Can you sprint to the ball like 50 times full speed? Are you going to loaf? Are you going to overanalyze stuff? Are you going to make a mistake and stop? All those things that go into young guys. So we're going to address that tomorrow morning. We just play free and relax, no fear. Because some of these kids they got so much pressure on themselves to either be a starter, contribute, I want to do this, I want to do that, and they go out there and they overprocess, and we're trying to eliminate that. Just put your foot in the ground, go and run as hard as you can and hit somebody as hard as you can.
What's your biggest concern? What's your biggest concern right now?
I don't know if we have a concern. I think when you get past I would say we probably got about 14 guys, maybe 15 guys that you say like, hey, put them out there. We got a chance to be pretty decent. I think during the course of the year, I think there's going to be some situations that we're going to need more. And I think that's probably the biggest thing that you always get concerned about is through week 8, week 9, when those guys are banged up, the really good guys, can you throw this guy in and go, okay, let's hold our breath here, or we're going to throw this guy in and say, hey, we're not going to miss a beat.